Hi everyone and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, husband is doing a installation of a new fuel oil tank. This is a 1950s home built with oil heat. The old tank that was in the space had gone bad, so we took it out, painted the room, and got it ready. We're doing a couple of modifications with this tank, as the old tank had a vent right up there, and it actually goes through the wall, and the trouble with those is they end up clogged and you can't clean them out, and then you end up with trouble. The other thing is this was vented through the siding instead of the cement block, so it had 4 elbows in it, and husband tells me that for every elbow that is put in, it is like adding 7 feet of pipe to the whole configuration. So I went through, got the tank all painted, and husband has been in here leveling it. Now these legs are spin in, and you can go without any shims at all. However, they're tapered, so as you adjust them, they actually become loose and wobbly. So we chose to do the shimming. Well, how do you figure out exactly how or where to drill your new holes, to punch out your holes for your fill and your vent? He's got this tank leveled. We have the valves and fill pipe screwed in, and this one is just a dummy pipe lined up to where it's supposed to be. And then he just took a straight edge to be able to mark the wall. So we're gonna go ahead, have this installed today, and then it is going to be mortared in properly. There won't be, pests or animals, no caulking having to be done in the location that it was before. That had actually been filled with some kind of a knockout previously, and the house was just repainted, so we didn't want to go back that way as well. So go ahead and explain about the 4 elbows.
The way they did this before, and I don't like drilling through these for oil tanks either, the floor joists. They came up, went over to the wall, had an elbow, so you already have 2 elbows. Then they went up a couple inches, did an elbow behind this floor joist out the wall for the fill pipe, and then another elbow. That's 4 elbows. And some people put swing joints in them if they're in a funny spot. I don't like to. Some people will put even a little bit of a pitch on this pipe because they think they need to get it to drain. But if you do a nice job with your threads and dope, that doesn't matter. They drain anyway. So if you put a swing joint in, then you usually have a street L and 2 elbows. Because, like you said, every what would that be, a 90? Every 90 is like adding 7 feet of pipe to try to push the oil through, and it doesn't like it. If you go to 2 inch, sometimes we use 2 inch elbow, 2 inch, and then outside of the house we do a 2 inch by 1.5 inch, reducing elbow to 1.5 inches for the truck. That's great, and then they flow great. But this one, they had done 4 elbows, went through the wall, and then the tanks are usually a little wobbly. I like to mortar them in because then they're completely solid. And then this one over here was even worse. This was a really fancy thing they thought they were doing in the early 50s. There's a lot of houses around here that have this. They came up somewhere with a little 3/4 vent, over here, over, up through the closet wall, and out way up high by the eaves. And I think that the idea was if you did a summer fill, the homeowner couldn't smell the oil. Something like that. Pretty neat, but it doesn't work because when you get bugs in them in the pipe, you can't clean them out. You can't just take them apart and clean them. So that's not going to happen again. So I'm going to go, right, these are always 6 inches apart with this branded tank. Here and here, mortar them in, paint the pipes. We're able to reuse these pipes, but they need to be painted now. And
so the fill and the vent are going to be side by side.
Yep.
Which is more common.
That's how they've been since the mid-50s. If people quit doing it, this house was built in 52, and just after that, I don't know if hardly any newer homes where they did that much past this one. It was just kind of a little fad, and it's kind of neat, but the vents are too small for the trucks these days anyway. So this is the vent alarm, fill pipe, and then of course you got your gauge here away from the turbulence of the oil. Your arm goes this way, and then your the old one, they used to bury the copper line under all the basements and put cement over them, and then the cement would crack and break the line, and they'd leak. So I took that line, the line's still under there, but I mortared over it. So we'll put a firematic here at this end, come up here, and go through the floor joist, and then over to the furnace in the other room. And then, here, I'll show you what I did over here. Right here. Then the oil line came through that block wall right there and over. So we mortared over that, and it'll come overhead through here.
Okay, it'll go right up through the ceiling.
Right here.
Between the floor joists.
And then down.
Okay.
Overhead line.
So right here is where the fill hole is on the outside of the house. So that's been painted over.
And right up, see, it came way up here. That's how they did them all.
Yeah.
That little hole that we plugged with wood filler. So all that pipe goes through this front closet and down, and you can't service them when they get bugs in them.
Right.
So it didn't work. So they're no good. So.
Okay, yeah, a lot of dirt, a lot of bugs. This whole corner of the house was filled full of dirt from catching everything from the west. So with the bushes, everything there, you won't even see those fill valves and vent pipe.
Then we'll do mud in it. Color.
So you can do with this with a chisel on a air compressor. My air compressor cannot build up enough air with its leaks that it has from being thrown on the floor and whatever. So we're just doing it the old way. So here's what it looks like so far. That's a lot better than going up through that siding. I don't know why they didn't do it that way in the first place, but it's good to be doing it this way as the cold weather is setting in. We've already had some freezing nights, and this is not nice work to have to do in the super cold. It is not going to freeze tonight. It's going to be in the 50s for about 3 days. So we're going to be able to mortar this and have it slow set in a cool temperature, because sometimes that like fast setting mix that you can add can actually be weak mortar jobs. And as I'm looking here, we've got a little bit of mortar work to do in our brickwork at the same time. We're just getting as many jobs done out of this as we can. We removed the old air conditioner that wasn't working. It's not going to be replaced at this house, and was able to plant some grass seeds so that it can get a start. The farmers are still planting wheat, so we're deciding to go ahead and plant some grass seed. Both.
I have some. It's the only one I had that would fit in here but not be too long, with a thread on it. But, hi.
Hi. now he's all hooked up with both vents from the inside going to the out. I believe he's out there mixing up some mortar so that we can finish up our day, get this mortared in, and let it dry for tomorrow's work.
The blue stuff from Menards is lumpy and slimy and no good, but this is Rector Seal. This is the next best thing to Jomar. The green Jomar is the best, but ours is getting all hard, so
Hard to get.
Huh?
And hard to get.
No, the hydraulic hose place has it now.
Oh, that's right.
So, that's another place that has it. This one only needs pipe dope to get it back apart someday. This is the vent cap. Wipe them down and paint them.
So right here, he's taking a rag and he's buffing off any excess pipe dope. I'm gonna figure out what color I want to paint these. I could paint them white or gray, black or yellow to match the siding, just because they stick up a little bit. Paint won't stick to that pipe dope, so this is just cleaning that off in advance.
All right.
So even though we're reusing some old pipes, we have gone through with a wire wheel, we've gone through with the buffer and cleaned everything up so that there's no loose and shipping stuff, and it'll take the paint really good.
Then we run the threader over them too. The pipe threader, you run them down with oil and clean the threads. Mm-hmm. But this stuff's getting expensive, and it was doing just fine before, so if you clean everything up nice and do it nicely, it's perfect.
Hi. We have a mortaring job in progress here. And what kind of mortar are you using today?
Just S mortar that we had laying around. It's kind of overkill. And then we mix some dirt in it like we do to make it not so fluorescent and kind of blend in with the block that are, 70 years old.
What he means is when it dries, it's very noticeably lighter colored than what your cement block would be. So you can just add any garden variety dirt to it to tint it instead of buying tint and trying to match something. It's quite expensive, those little tint bottles. This works really well.
Yeah, this is a little bit wet, but that's how it worked out. But I'll let it firm up a bit and come out and smooth this out. Show it to you.
All right. So you can see he's just applying it with the back of a flat masonry trowel, pushing it in and smoothing it out as it settles a little bit.
Yeah, I'm pushing a lot of it. I have another job to do too, but I made a lot, so I'm kind of pushing it in the blocks and filling in the blocks. And
yeah,
basically you're drilling a hole through these blocks with a chisel, and they don't break. It allows you to go through them. So we didn't hurt the blocks. We just went through them, and this will tie everything together real nice, strong.
Okay.
Don't just caulk them in, you know.
Right.
A lot of people just caulk them in and then nothing's holding the... This holds the tank to the wall really well.
Okay. So you're getting some structure stability of the piping and sealing out.
Nieces.
Yeah. So tell us the trick to your old and new work sticking together bonding.
Water. You spray these down and get them wet. It's like 100 times. It stick right to it forever. If you don't, you'll have a hard time. Even that wet paint, it'll bond right to that wet paint just by being wet.
Okay.
I don't know what the process that causes it is, but it's crazy how good it works for free.
And by wet paint, he doesn't mean that this is fresh paint. We painted this about 2 weeks ago. He means the water on the block. So it just ties everything together.
Bonds it somehow.
So you can see he's getting a good amount. Working with 2 trowels works really good because you're able to use one to hold your mortar and push it in with the other. So we just keep pushing that in. Anything that drops, we'll clean it up after it's dried. It'll just fall right off with a broom and a dustpan.
Yep. I'm just trying to push in way too much and use up my excess here in the void. This pipe ended up going through a webbing of the block. This one made it through. You can't usually get them to line up. This one just went through an opening, and the webbing of the block was right in the way. It just takes a little bit more time. You just go in and kind of hit it on an angle and it still goes right through. Just another maybe 2 minutes is all.
So we've let that firm up a little bit and pat it all in there real nice after letting it set up for a bit. Let's take you outside and show you how that went. The next step is going to be adding some paint here. So he's going to take over with some black oil-based paint to paint these pipes so that they match the tank. And this is all looking so much nicer. Look at that. We were pricing cedar siding today to get like a patch piece for here, and you can buy a single board. I think it was 10 feet for $25. We have another section that we want to take care of. A bundle, he said it's about 10 foot by 10 foot, $185. So we're going to call the local lumber yard and see if we can get a better price, but that's something else that we'd like to do here. So we decided we're going to go ahead with the yellow paint so that it matches the siding, and not paint any of the mortar, of course, but they already had like a tannish kind of color on it, any paint that's left on there is going to aid in the paint sticking, and it's warm enough to paint today if it doesn't rain. So here's the tank all touched up. We were able to paint the legs, paint the pipes that we were reusing here. These were new, so we left them unpainted, painted out the wall. This is going to dry for a couple of days before we hit that with a fresh coat of paint. And here's our outside work. Like I said, we decided to paint it yellow to match, and I think it was a good choice. So thanks for joining us in our tank install and our new piping situation. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.